the G Square podcast. I'm your host, Javon Grant, alongside my co-host, Gavin Gorman.
Yo.
Today, we have a great episode. We're going to be talking about mental health. So we brought together a great panel of individuals. And if you guys want to introduce yourselves, just state your name, age, and your major. Go ahead, Jacob.
All right, my name is Jacob. I'm 20. I'm studying fire science right now. I'm working on getting my EMT certification, and then hopefully I'll start with the fire industry.
Jordan.
My name is George. I'm 22, and I'm working to become an electrician.
Amen. Go ahead, babe.
My name's Gill. I'm 20 and I'm psych major.
Ashyln.
My name's Ashyln. I'm 19 and I'm also a psych major.
Hi guys, my name is Alondra. I am 19 and I am majoring in social work.
Hi, my name is Azaria. I'm 19 and my major is political science and criminal justice.
Okay. Y'all know me, Gavin, business admin major, and I'm 20 years old.
All right, so we appreciate, you guys all coming on
sure.
today.
It was late notice. It was late notice as hell, though.
It was late notice. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the most, heated, controversial questions that surround mental health. So that's why we brought some of, the best people to talk about this.
Oh, bro.
So to start off, we know that mental health has been a taboo subject for a very long time. And finally, since we're able to talk about it now, we decided to ask some questions. So you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the first question, this is just like a warm-up. So, what inspired you to do your major? This has nothing to do with mental health, just like a warm-up. What inspired you to do your major? Jacob?
So it kind of comes in my family. My grandpa was a firefighter, and then my uncle got into it, and then I did a class in high school, and I enjoyed doing it. I also like helping people and being helpful around, so that's why I kind of got into the fire industry.
Me, it's just like he said, it's in my family. My dad's a truck driver, so he's into the trade. So at first I went to school, but then I ended up dropping out. So yeah.
So this school's not for everybody.
I always wanted to work with kids and people, and I like talking to people and helping them. And I didn't like teaching, so then I was like, I like psychology, so I decided to be a therapist.
I also always wanted to work with kids. I actually wanted to do elementary education, but I realized that I didn't really care about the teaching part, but I always just wanted to help kids. So I'm going to school for psychology to hopefully be a school counselor.
That's dope.
I always grew up wanting to help people, but I also wanted to be a teacher, but I guess my junior year I met my social worker, and so he kind of introduced me to what social work was, and I kind of fell in love with it, so.
I plan to go pre-law. That's where the political science come from. And the criminal justice, I like criminal minds. So I decided to go the criminal justice route.
That's dope.
That's real.
My business major, I kind of got from my mom. She kind of inspired me to just do accounting or finance or stuff like that and everything. So, yeah, man.
That's dope. All right, so as the moderator, the first question is, what is mental health in your opinion? Jacob, Jill, anybody? You guys, anyone can start, honestly, it don't matter.
Jill, go ahead. Start it.
Oh, okay. Oh, boy.
So what is mental health in your opinion?
I would say mental health is...
You can pass that.
Yeah, you can pass this to the next person if you don't know.
The pressure is on. Jeez. Okay. No, I feel like mental health is kind of the state that you're in, whether it's good or bad, because mental health can be good or bad, and I feel like it changes all the time depending on where you're at in life, and it can get worse or it can get better, and you can always work on it.
Okay.
I believe mental health is a person's mental or emotional and psychological well-being and how it affects them. I agree with Jill for the most part.
Okay. I also believe it's more of your well-being, whether it's good or bad.
guys kind of said it you guys kind of said it, but I think it's always changing, and I think some people are better at managing it, and some just need a little bit of that help, and I think that's when we kind of that's where we come.
Want to go? You agree?
It's just basically whatever all of them said, basically.
George, Jacob.
I mean, shit, they already defined it. So.
Okay, as a moderator, the second question is, why is there a stigma around mental health, and what can we do to change this?
You want us to start out this one?
Sorry. All right. I don't know. People think mental health's not that important. It's not. People don't really want to talk about it because people are afraid to. I think. I think it's important. Just because you don't know how somebody's feeling. So that's basically it. Yeah.
I think also, yes, it could be good or bad, you know what I'm saying? Like he said, like if it's bad, then, you know, you need that extra person to talk to, need that extra hand to reach out for help. So
Why do you think it was a stigma? Like, why do you think for a long time it was like tough to talk about or to admit that you had a mental health issue?
Because most of us see it as a bad thing. Like, you know, when you're going through trouble, it's hard times, you don't really want to talk to nobody about it. So I feel like, you know, that's why.
Do you have that issue?
I did. I'm not gonna lie. I did when I dropped out. You know, I felt like some sort of kind of depression because I was like, oh, I'm worth nothing. Like, I won't ever be nothing. But then, like, I started talking to other people and they...
No, I'm playing. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I started talking to other people and figuring out you could be more than, like, it's more out there than college.
Right, exactly. I feel you.
But yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I feel like the stigma around mental health is because people, like George said, like they look at it as such a negative thing. I mean, people were considered like crazy when mental health was like not what it is today, and even still sometimes if you say you're like depressed or you have some type of mental health issue, people will like put you in a box, and then it's hard to get out of it. So I think people are just scared to talk about it because it puts them in a box and people will look at them differently, but there shouldn't be a stigma because everybody struggles. So, you know, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, you pretty much took the words right out of my mouth. Like, a lot of people view it as a weakness when, like you said, everybody struggles with it at some point or another, like, in their life. A lot of people are just really uneducated on it as well. They believe that it doesn't exist. I know a lot of people in my life who have said that, and it takes a lot to, like, reframe that mindset, but it's really important.
Do you think mental health is like, or like having a mental health issue is like inevitable? Like everyone's eventually going to go through it? Or is it just some people have it and some people don't, depending on your circumstances?
Not necessarily like a mental health issue, but like they'll struggle with their mental health because everybody goes through hard times in life where they'll feel down at some point or another. You know?
To add to your question, I think everybody's life has everybody has their own obstacles, so it kind of just depends on what that person is like facing and how it like shapes them. And so I guess it just depends on the obstacles that they're going through.
So would you say like people who have more money end up having less mental issues, or do you think it's the same? Like poor people, rich people.
I think it's the same. I think a lot of people kind of just like, whenever they see a rich kid, they kind of like say, oh, they have everything, but they really like, they could be neglected by their parents, or they could be going through the same things. It's just kind of like everybody judging them based on their appearance and their economic like status.
I also feel like a lot of stigma comes from like misconception, like through cultural beliefs and also through like media, like mainly like TikTok right now. I feel like that's where a lot of stigma comes from. There's also I feel like the stigma has like gone up like a little bit more. Like it's more, mental health is like, I would say more acceptable now than it was back then. So there's like some good stigma that came from it, but also it's like still a lot of bad stigma.
Go ahead, Gab.
I'll just add on to Ashyln. I would say growing up, I mean, they didn't believe like mental health was like real. I mean, you could like go out and like I'll say just like, because us guys, like, we're not really supposed to share our emotions, I guess. Like, you could be feeling some type of way. I mean, I don't share my emotions really. I don't know if y'all do.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's just I would just say it's the upbringing. So I feel like we got said that there's no such thing as mental health. But yeah.
Okay, so like in your own lives, do you guys feel, or like growing up, have you guys ever felt like scared to talk about your emotions, like with your parents or with your friends or with anybody, or was it always like welcome? Like, did your like experience always welcome that type of, vulnerability?
I mean, me personally, I was very much sensitive growing up. I was really like an emotional kid. So it was pretty easy for me to talk about my emotions, but I know like my brothers all kept it like very bottled up. So I feel like it really depends, like Gavin said, like how your parents raise you. I mean, I think it can just be so different for even siblings. I don't know.
Does anyone else want to go? Next, actually.
Yeah. So like growing up, I grew up in a Hispanic household, so it's kind of more of wait guys, restart. So growing up, I kind of grew up. Oh, I just said the same thing. I'm like, you know what? Wait, I'll just go. Let me.
Okay.
You go.
That's why I gave it to you, because I low-key forgot the question.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just like
You want me to
I hate when you said it. I loved it when I read.
it's like, have you ever growing up, have you ever was it tough for you basically to express your emotions?
I feel like it was more tougher because my mom told us like growing up we're not allowed to cry or none of that, so it made it way harder, especially growing up in a black household. I feel like she didn't become more accepted of like mental health until like she saw her firsthand experience like with my sister and stuff. So now I feel like she's more receptive towards it and like, oh, like it's actually a real thing and people like struggle for it, so she see it firsthandly now.
Anyone else want to speak to it?
Yeah, I think I can. So like I said, I'm 22, so really in my house, like with my parents and stuff like that, it was like no crying at all, unless I got a whooping or something like that. Then I would cry, but other than that, I was taught to provide for like my wife and stuff like that. Always be there for my kids. Just be like the stern hand, like or something like that. But yeah, like really, I didn't share my emotions. I was just going through stuff alone. Just like, I don't know, just kept in the back of my head, just thinking about them, thinking should I do? Yeah, I didn't really communicate with anyone until now. Like now I really started to like express my feelings, express what I don't like, and like,
That's good. Anyone else before I move on?
I was pretty lucky that my family was like open about talking about things that we had issues with. But when it came to like more serious things about mental health, they didn't really believe in that like at all, and they didn't really believe in therapy. But something happened like a year ago where I ended up having to go to therapy, and I think my parents have like seen how much I've improved and my like how I act, and I think that that's kind of like shown them that it does work. So yeah,
That's dope.
Okay, I'm back. I would say that growing up, like my mom was very, very old school, and she was also like hardcore Catholic, and so she grew up in the generation where like mental health wasn't like brought up a lot, or it wasn't even like mental health awareness, and so it kind of made her grow up cold, and so we all kind of just grew up kind of like unable to be vulnerable towards her, and so I think that's why it kind of made it hard for me to be vulnerable until like I found out what mental health was, and I started working on it.
And to add to that, like what I will say, it reminded me like, especially growing up in like a church household, like when you always go to church and Jesus is like the answer 24/7. Gang, if you ever bring up like mental health, they're gonna look at you like
You need
weird or
Jesus.
something like that.
Yeah, like you need Jesus. That's it.
Something wrong with you or something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. As a moderator, question 3 is, is mental health more important than physical health? What do you guys think?
Just as important. For
I feel like I think mental health is more important because without mental health, you won't really be able to process correctly. You'll have all the emotions going through your head. And without that, say you want to go to the gym, right? Say you don't want to go because you're lazy or something. If you don't have the mindset of it, you're not gonna do it, you know. So
What about like some people would say like that physical health can lead to you having a mental decline, but mental decline won't lead to you having physical health. Like people who are, let's say, like obese, I think it was like a study, it was like 4 times more likely to suffer from depression. But like, you know, people with like chronic illnesses and stuff like that often go through like, you know, episodes of depression. So like, would you say then that physical health could be more important than mental health?
it depends on the person, to be honest. But I think with mental health, if they have that goal within them, and they get help from them, you know, go to therapy or anything like that.
Okay.
You can get there.
Okay.
Talk that shit, Jake.
I agree with that, and I also think that it's kind of a cycle because I feel like if you have bad mental health, you're not gonna have the motivation to go and do what you need to do, and it's just gonna be a cycle, and then you're gonna be in a bad physical spot. But because you're in a bad physical spot, you're gonna be mentally like not well. So I think that they just go hand in hand with each other, and without one, you're not gonna be able to like strive or do good without the other, because that's why they're both just as important. And that's why I feel like that's such a problem now, is people don't understand that mental health is just as important as physical health, and like it needs to be brought to the same level. Personally, I think.
Yeah, I also think there should be like a balance to it, because if you have bad mental health, you can also have bad physical health. It's just like an eating disorder. Like if your mental health is bad, like your physical body can get bad, like anorexia. It's like it'll be like the physical decline of your actual body, because your mental health, like it's all in the brain with like an eating disorder. So I feel like it's like more of a balance to it. Well, also sometimes for like mental health, like if it's real bad, like your physical health would tend to decline.
Well, you say you for both, right? I thought I didn't hear you.
Yeah, it's like a balance, yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree with all three of you guys. It's just as important. Like you were talking about, like with how, you know, when you suffer from anorexia or like any eating disorder, really, that really does like impact your physical health. Another example would be like chronic stress or anxiety, and how that can like lead to like a higher likelihood of like getting certain diseases. And like it can also affect like your sleep, which is, you know, obviously super important. And kind of like you were talking about,
see
certain,
us,
like,
you know we mean business.
Working 12-hour slave shifts, but I be on yachts. I ain't come from off no slave ship. Pull up in that drop, have them guessing what I make.